Citizenship on the Go. Lesson 7. American Government. The Legislative Branch. Part 1. The Two Parts of Congress. This lesson explains the structure and the function of the legislative branch of U.S. government. It discusses who works for the legislative branch and what they do in government. In the United States, there is one legal document that is above all others in the country. It is the supreme law of the land, and everyone in the United States must obey it, including people who work for the government and who make new laws. That document is the U.S. Constitution. As the supreme law of the land, the Constitution protects basic rights of Americans. Everyone in the country has certain constitutional rights or freedoms promised to them by the Bill of Rights and by other passages of the supreme law of the land. According to the Constitution, even officials in federal and state government do not legally have the power to deny anyone in the United States the right to act on those fundamental freedoms. In addition to protecting basic rights of Americans, the Constitution also sets up the government of the United States. It defines the three branches of federal government and lays down rules for how they work, saying what each branch can and can't do. To start with, the Constitution sets up the legislative branch, which is the branch of government that has the job of making federal laws. The Constitution defines the legislative branch as a two-part body of government. Both parts of the legislative branch make federal laws, but they have certain different duties and powers. According to the Constitution, Part 1 of the legislative branch is the House of Representatives. Part 2 of the legislative branch is the Senate. Civics test question. What is the supreme law of the land? What is the supreme law of the land? The Constitution. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land. Even the legislative branch of government, which makes federal laws, is not allowed to make laws that go against the Constitution. Civics test question. What does the Constitution do? What does the Constitution do? Sets up the government. The Constitution sets up the government, and it defines the government, explaining how the different branches and parts of government work. The Constitution also protects basic rights of Americans. The government set up by the Constitution has three branches. The Constitution defines what each branch does, setting down rules for how they operate. The three branches of federal government are the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch. Government officials working in each branch have separate responsibilities and separate powers, or things they're authorized to do, as members of their part of government. The main body of the legislative branch is called Congress. The two parts of Congress are the House of Representatives and the Senate. The House and the Senate both meet in the capital of the United States, Washington, D.C., in a large white building topped by an enormous dome. The Capitol Dome is a famous landmark in Washington, D.C., visited every year by people from around the world on tour of the capital city of the United States. The House of Representatives usually meets on one side of the Capitol building, and the Senate meets on the other side. When both parts of Congress need to come together to make decisions involving the whole legislative branch, they gather in the middle of the Capitol building. Civics test question. Name one branch or part of the government. Name one branch or part of the government. Congress. The part of government called Congress is in the legislative branch. Congress is itself divided into two parts, the Senate and the House. The other two branches of government are the executive branch, which includes the office of the president, and the judicial branch, which includes the courts. Each part of government has important jobs to do. So that they're able to carry out their responsibilities to the people, each part of government is empowered to make certain kinds of big decisions and to take political and legal action in significant ways. The Constitution, however, sets up the government in a way that calls for separation of powers. Each branch of government has certain things it can do and certain things it can't do. The things one branch can and can't do are different from the things the other branches can and can't do. Their powers are separate. Each branch of government also has ways of stopping or slowing down the other branches if it seems like people in those branches are abusing their position by trying to take all the power for themselves, ignoring the basic rights of Americans, or going against the Constitution in other ways. The system set up by the Constitution that makes it so each branch of government has ways of checking the other two, or stopping them from becoming too powerful, is called checks and balances. The system of checks and balances applies to national and international affairs of U.S. government. For example, if the president signs a treaty with the government of another country, agreeing to a business or military deal between the United States and a foreign nation, Congress has the power to reject that treaty. If a majority of senators believe the president should not have signed a treaty, they can vote to call off the deal between countries. This is one way that the legislative branch has the ability to stop or check the executive branch. On the other hand, when Congress passes a bill or an idea for a law, the president has the option of vetoing that bill. That means that the president rejects the bill and it has to go back to Congress to be debated on and edited all over again. This is one way the powers of the executive branch balance out the powers of the legislative branch. Civics test question. What stops one branch of government from becoming too powerful? What stops one branch of government from becoming too powerful? Checks and balances. The system of checks and balances and the system of separation of powers, as outlined by the Constitution, keep one branch of government from becoming too powerful. The Constitution gives the legislative branch a wide range of powers. For one thing, Congress is the part of government that makes federal laws. Neither the judicial branch nor the executive branch have the power to make federal laws. This responsibility and privilege is restricted to the legislative branch. As part of federal lawmaking, Congress is the part of government that creates taxes. Congress also maintains the armed forces, and it's Congress that declares war. While Congress makes laws at the federal level, however, each of the 50 states of the United States has its own state-level legislature too. The final article of the Bill of Rights, the 10th Amendment, says that any powers not expressly given to the federal government belong to the states. For this reason, though the Constitution and federal law must be followed everywhere in the United States, laws about matters specific to individual states differ depending on where you live. No matter where you live in the US, for example, if you are making an income, you need to file federal income tax forms every year. Whether or not you need to file state income tax forms, on the other hand, depends on the laws of your state of residency. Much as the federal government operates according to a system of separation of powers, the two parts of the national legislature have separate powers in Congress. The two parts of Congress are the Senate and the House of Representatives. Representatives in the House have some powers that senators don't. A House representative can propose new taxes, for example. This means that when Congress makes a new federal law about taxes, the bill for that law starts in the House, not in the Senate. Representatives also have the power of impeaching members of government. This means the House can charge a member of government, such as the president, with conduct unsuitable to their position. After hearing a case against a member of government, if enough voting members of the House decide that the accused official has done something that goes against their duties and responsibilities or violates the rules in a significant way, that person is impeached. There are also powers of Congress that only the Senate has. For example, the Senate is the part of government that approves presidential appointments. When a president names their choice for federal judge or member of the cabinet, the president's appointee needs to get the approval of a majority of senators before they can formally take office. Another power of the Senate is removal. If the House votes to impeach a member of government, the Senate has the power to remove the impeached officer. This means that even though the House is the part of Congress to first charge a member of government with wrongdoing, the Senate is the part of Congress that decides whether what the impeached officer did is grounds to eliminate them from office. Because of separation of powers in the legislative branch, before a president of the United States or any other member of federal government can be forced out of office by Congress, first they must be impeached by the House of Representatives and then removed by the Senate. This is why you will sometimes hear on the news about someone getting impeached but staying in government. In such cases, the House decided that a member of government accused of wrongdoing was in fact guilty, but the Senate decided that whether or not what that person did was wrong, it wasn't a solid reason for removing them from office. Civics test question. What are the two parts of the U.S. Congress? What are the two parts of the U.S. Congress? The Senate and the House. The two parts of the U.S. Congress are the Senate and the House of Representatives. The House of Representatives is often referred to as simply the House.